Welcome back. Caddy Corner, episode 53. I'm Austin.
And I'm Caleb.
And what's up, man?
What up?
1 year of the show done. 52 episodes. And we're in a new fun location.
Yes, we are.
Caddy Corner Mobile this week. We got on wheels.
Yeah, we're on a trip.
We're on a trip. Which I don't really know. This isn't really the episode to talk about that. We'll talk about that on a later date just because we just got here literally like 11 minutes ago. And now we're recording a podcast because this is what we do every single week, and we have done for 52 weeks in a row. So 1 year of Caddy Corner. Woohoo. Yippee.
Whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop. So this episode's just going to be kind of about reminiscing, talking about, you know, some key takeaways, some high points in the show, and just kind of hanging out for a little while is kind of how it is on my notes and how it's structured. So before we get into it too far, though, make sure to rate and review the show, like and subscribe, share the video or the podcast around with your family and friends. Stick around for the next year of Caddy Corner because we are only going to do more cool and fun stuff. And thanks for listening again for 1 whole year. Anyway, Caleb, I'll let you take it away. We'll make a podcast.
All right. Yeah, so 1 year. That's unreal.
Yeah, man.
It doesn't feel like it's been that long at all.
Mm-mm.
But then at the same time, it feels like it's been that long.
I think that the past, 5 weeks have really slowed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I've been able to tell since, 45 that, we're close. And it's every time it goes by, tick, tick, tick. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like ever since, whenever we did the episode 30, question and answer, from that to here has been, a pretty slow moving.
Normal feeling.
Yeah, normal feeling time period. But yeah, dude, I think that we've done a lot of cool things, a lot of interesting things, got our feet wet in a lot of new ways, I think.
Yeah.
And so basically what I have written down are just some key things that I have taken away after doing 1 year of the podcast. So I guess if you want, I can go ahead and start.
Yeah, go ahead.
Cool. So the very first thing that I have, and it's probably the most important thing, so that I have written down on my list. So if you're listening, don't stop listening after I say this, because this is probably the most important one. But it's that consistency is key. I think that with doing the podcast every week for 52 weeks, and then starting after hours 20 weeks after we started the regular show, and now we do that every week, and just doing it every week and not missing a week has just shown how doable it is, and how kind of easy it is to do something for a year, because whenever you think about it, a year is a long time. Doing this 52 times is not an easy task, and it's not easy to work your schedule around doing it every week 52 times, but then at the end of it, you kind of do realize how not easy it is, but how doable it is.
Yeah.
And so I think that one of the most important things to remember is you have to be consistent on a releasing schedule too, so that you said it great in the last show, where it was if you own a shoe store but nobody knows when you're open and nobody knows if you sell shoes, you have to post on a consistent schedule, so every week, so people know when to listen, and you have to they have to know what you talk about, so you have to talk about a similar thing, I guess, find your niche.
Mm-hmm.
So people know what they're kind of getting into.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is definitely one of the most important things, and definitely one of the most important things that I've taken away, just because you can apply it in everything. We started doing this 52 weeks ago, but I am much more consistent in everything that I do now, because it's just a part of my
life.
Brain.
Yeah, for sure. And that's, like you said, probably one of the most important things that we've gotten from this entire experience is not missing a week. And it's also a little bit of determination too. There's definitely been times where we could have missed a week, especially stuff happens, especially over the course of a year, we pivoted, made adjustments, had a couple of 911 podcast ideas.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You know, but we made it a year through, and made some cool stuff, which is what it's all about. Something that I think is one of my biggest takeaways too is that the podcast kind of made me work and try different things that I wouldn't have tried otherwise, for creative, I guess. The clips was an example. I never edited anything like that before. Did that for a while. That was fun. It was different, something that's very, very abnormal to what I normally work on every week or whatever. Editing something as long as the podcast, and now that it's 2 cameras, there's actually some editing involved, some back and forth kind of action. And so that's, again, something that's like very different than anything that I've ever done before. And then also even like some of the design and stuff like that. Like I never made a thumbnail before really, with the new sticker designs, which we haven't really shown yet. And I don't have any examples because we're not home. But like designed those. So that's like a different kind of avenue too. I think that that's super important for anybody who's making anything, is to get outside of whatever your comfort zone is. Because it would have been very easy, for me, however long ago, to be like, I want something to do that's like making stuff again, like how we ended up coming up with the podcast. It would have been very easy for me to like go back to just making like regular videos. But instead we did this, and then now we're here. So I think it's important to challenge yourself creatively.
Yeah, and I think like one way that we could have like worked around that is like whenever we started the podcast and like you're like the idea is new and you're like dreaming big and you're like, oh well, one day like I'm just gonna be the talent and like somebody else is gonna like do all these things. But like at the very beginning, whenever you're like growing, it kind of forces you to do all the things. And so like one of the things that I have like written down as one of my takeaways is like all the technical skills of like producing a podcast, and like how like it requires all kinds of different technical skills. Like you have to be able to edit audio, but like not only edit audio, you have to be able to like record audio, and you have to be able to record video and then edit video. And then you have to be able to
brand it.
Yeah, like on social media and like all these things. And so like all these technical skills that like at the beginning of this were just like, oh, like we're just dreaming, but like now it's like a real thing. Like I remember being like talking about the podcast and thinking about how cool it would be to have like clips of like me talking on like social media.
Yeah.
But like now it like happens.
It's real.
Like all the time.
All the time.
And so like I think like just being able to learn all those technical skills and being able to do those things and like be able to produce a podcast, it will like help you grow as a creator in like all different means.
For sure.
Because like any kind of content that you can create now pretty much in 2023, like a majority of like the clickbait and like all that stuff, like it happens in the thumbnail, but like a lot of it happens in like social media clips.
Yeah.
And so like being able to like watch something that you've made and being like, okay, this will make a good clip and this won't, and like now like let's make a clip and like post it on social media, and like being able to do that for like one thing will just like move on to like all the other projects that you have too.
I think that a lot of that too is like like you said, like starting the podcast and not paying employees and stuff like that. Like we've done all the production on our own, and so we've like had to literally learn how to do it all. But also too, like a good thing that comes along with that is everything that we've made has been like 2-hour standard. Like we haven't posted clips. We've improved obviously through the process, but like haven't posted clips that we just like hate. We haven't posted podcasts that are just terrible from like a production standpoint or whatever. And if we have, we improved off of the back of those. Same thing as like the logo. Like we've gone through however many different variations of the logo, and it's like we learned what it means to make a good logo, and we changed it and we played around with it. Something that definitely happens whenever you work in like larger groups or you have other people kind of help out or whatever is you might lose some of whatever you wanted the project to look like. We've done group projects before. We're long-term students, so we've all had that, but we haven't really had that with the podcast because it's been you and I working on it and designing every aspect of it. Everything that our brand kind of represents was like made by us, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah. I forgot to talk into the microphone right then. Yeah, I totally agree with you. And like, yeah, it's just like a good thing to be able to like make all of your stuff, I think. And pretty much like every aspect of that, to where it's like, okay, like I'm making all these things to help grow me as a creator, but also like this is what I want it to look like, and this is what I think it should look like, and all this stuff. Because yeah, like you said, whenever you start working with a team of people, then like the control is kind of gone. Even if you are like the head honcho of the group and like every idea kind of like runs through you or whatever, then you still can't make it look like exactly what you want it to look like unless you put your hands on it,
Right.
And like in most of those cases, you're not putting your hands on it. So it's kind of just like you have to put your trust in like all of your employees per se. But, like sometimes people let you down.
Mm-hmm.
And it's I think a bigger deal if somebody lets you down other than like yourself letting you down,
100%.
because then it's just like you can redo it. But like you don't want to like tell your buddy like, hey, I think what you made like sucks.
Yeah.
And like you need to redo it. And so like then I think that could lead to like somebody making something and showing you and you being like, oh yeah, it's good, and then like you going back and redoing it and just like wasting the time whenever you could have just like done it yourself in the
Right.
first place.
100%. 100%. Working with the team stuff. We haven't really had that problem obviously yet. But it's cool to think like that the entire brand of like Caddy Corner has been made by us. It's like really that's like one of those things that we're talking about in the car. It's like it like changes the way that you perceive all of it. Like
Yeah, definitely.
80 something shows, like designs, blah blah blah. Anyway, it's cool stuff. It's cool stuff. Another thing that I think is definitely a good takeaway from the show is, with the research and with the spreading of knowledge and whatever, I would say that the podcast has really made me like a thinker. I like to just kind of think about things a lot and take a lot of information away, and I really like look for new information, and I'm always consuming like more and more and more, like searching for knowledge. I think that that's only a good thing. I don't think there's really any negative to that, to be honest. I'm sure there is somehow, but I don't see it at all. And I think that that's something that is really good. And doing the podcast for a year, and like I don't know about you, but we've done however many shows we've done, and I've never been like, ugh, I have to do notes or I have to research for the show. Never felt that way,
Right, yeah.
And so, enjoying learning and stuff like that is a really powerful thing. Sets you up for success in so many different avenues. But that's something that I've definitely learned about myself over the past year of making this podcast.
Yeah, I think I definitely would agree with you there. I'm not going to like piggyback off of it too much because like you just said pretty much everything that I think too. But yeah, definitely learning that learning is like a very important thing in my life has definitely changed the way that I think about a lot of things, because like for my whole life, like I've had these questions, and like you would just like not ever know the answer, but like now it's like if I have a question, then it's like I can't sleep until I find the answer.
Yeah.
Or until like I find something that will like lead me to the right answer. Just like I don't know, yeah, like taking in new information is kind of like, I don't know, like somewhat like addicting, I guess.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, I don't know, whenever you like know so much stuff, then it's just like, I don't know, it's just like,
yeah,
it's like it feels good for your brain to be like overflowing with information, I think.
Yeah, well, and that's what I said like on the drive-in. Like I was telling you how like one of my biggest fears is like walking into a room and just being like straight smooth-brained, like just a moron.
Yeah.
And like that is, I think that that's completely impossible if you just actively pursue information all the time. So
yeah, well, you have to like look for something to learn in like everything.
For sure.
Like no matter if it's like taking out the trash, like figure out how you can take out the trash better.
Mm-hmm.
Like always always be aware of like taking in new information.
Yeah.
I think
it's super important. Set you up for success.
Yeah, definitely. One thing that I have taken in from doing this podcast for a year is I think like the power of like storytelling. I think being able to like tell a story, like a personal story that like happened in your life, and being able to like talk about it on like a social media platform or like on a podcast platform and like something like that, will just grow you like crazy. I think being able to like because like storytelling is like not an easy thing to do. If like if anything happens in your life, like telling somebody about it is like a hard thing to do. Like telling them how it went and like what, like all these things, like all these details without like getting lost in the story is like a tough thing to do.
For sure.
But I think like with doing the podcast and like being able to like tell stories and like to people and being able to articulate myself enough to where like it makes sense and like I can add in details and like all these things has just like grown me as like a speaker, I guess. But then also like being able to have that kind of relationship there like with the audience and kind of like they know like the real like personal me, and like so I think storytelling.
Yeah, I think that I agree with that, and I think that the way that I'll piggyback off of it is I feel the same way. Like I talk better now. I talk better, like that's real, like we've talked into microphones to each other for who knows how many hours, dude. I didn't even think about it in terms of like hours.
Yeah.
Dude, so many.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. You just have it. We literally get on the mic once a week and have like an hour-long conversation between both shows. And it's kind of like talking practice. It's like speaking practice, I guess,
Yeah.
And like, I just think about how do I articulate whatever I'm trying to say, like in a way that the audience can understand and in a way that a lot of different people can understand and whatever. Like you get better at talking over a while after you learn how to kind of do it. So I completely agree. I think that's such a good point. And like talking is very important. You got to communicate somehow, And so it's super important. Another thing, and this is probably like my personal biggest one. I have one that I think is big for the audience, but this is probably the one that's the biggest for me, is like starting the show off of the back of you and I, like just really off of our work or whatever, growing it to kind of its size and stuff like that, and multitude of other things. There's like a very strong sense of like validation that comes along with that. It's like, dude, like we got all the gear, we shot the podcast, we posted the podcast, people listened, and we've done that 52 times. And I can look back and I can say, man, like even if I was 60 and we stopped right now, I would be like, like to the grandkids, like I made a year of a podcast whenever I was a child.
Yeah,
Jimmy, it was me who did that, and Caleb, we did it together as a team. It's like that's cool, It like validates our skill sets as like, I don't know, like producers or like creators or whatever. I think that's super important.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that like not, I don't want to say like not success, but because like I think posting a podcast every week for a year and then like somebody listening every single time is like definitely success.
100%.
But like for some people, like what we've accomplished might not look exactly like success. But I think like being able to see that and like see the success that like we've gained from this per se, definitely gives you like some sort of validation, and it will like make you want to like keep doing it.
100%.
Because like there's nothing that has happened in the last year that has made me want to stop doing this.
Otherwise we would have.
Yeah, like this is episode 1 of like year 2.
Yeah, season 2, episode 1.
Yeah, of the podcast, you know, and like there's nothing that has happened in the last 52 weeks that has made me want to stop making the podcast, just because like I don't know, like it's just like there's something about like putting your voice out there and like your opinions out there and like people listening, and then like DMing you and being like, dude, like you're killing it, or like, like you see somebody and they're like, you guys are really killing it, like just like those type of things, like the validation that comes through people, but then like the internal validation that you get like from yourself, just being like, like, yeah, like we did this,
Yeah, completely.
And it's just like you're just proud of it because it's like your child or something.
Mm-hmm. And not only does it like validate us as like humans, like our kind of, whatever, but it also validates us from like a skill set perspective, like going back to what we were talking about how like we've kind of built the show off the back of nothing. Like that is like a real thing that we can like pitch to people. Like we from like nothing built whatever audience that we have, but also like we know how to shoot a podcast, we know how to record a podcast, and like not with a million other people, like it's just you and I, and so that's cool too. It like validates the skills, so it's cool.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the other things that I've definitely taken away from this podcast so far is the importance, I guess, of networking. I think being able to network with people, and like just meet new people and like talk to people like all the time is so important, because like there are so many interesting people like around. Like if you live in the smallest town in the whole world, like there are some interesting people around you that are like worth talking to, you know? And I think like with doing a podcast, you know, like you see like the most famous podcasts, and they have like the most famous dudes from Hollywood and Nashville and I don't know,
Wherever.
Portland, Oregon, or like
Yeah.
whatever, you know, like the most famous people from around town, like on their show. And like, yeah, these people are like interesting, but then it's like there are so many people that you know that are just like just have like the coolest stories, but it's like you never would have known if you didn't like talk to them.
Yeah.
You know. And so like there are like some local companies around like us that have like some really like neat stories, and like people that are like totally worth talking to. But it's like if you would have never talked to them like previously, like if you just like saw them around, you know, then you would have never known to like ask them to come on the podcast or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I think like networking is so important.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that like I talked about it a little bit on the last episode, like we have that angle of being like small town, and like we can go to those people who are like small town famous, and you know, like teacher of the years, or you know, like business owners and stuff like that. Like, yeah, sure, nobody knows about them in like another state, but like they have information to tell, you know, like they have stories to tell, like you said. It's interesting. People are interesting.
Yeah, interesting.
So interesting.
And like everyone has a story, you know, and like everybody's story is worth like listening.
For
I
sure.
think. And so like whenever you think about it like that, then like it doesn't matter if you're not like the most famous person in the world, but it's like if you like had nothing and now like you have like this successful small business in like your hometown, then that's like the story. That's like a story to listen to, and like it's relatable to everybody.
For sure.
You know, like everyone has like stories that are relatable to everybody.
100%. This is my last kind of takeaway, and I think it's the biggest one for like the audience to kind of take away from, similar to how you started with the most important one. I'm ending with the most important one, which is I think that ambition is key. This podcast, I think, was powered by ambition. When we started, we were just two guys at a Mexican restaurant, you know, wanting to do something fun. Next thing you know, we've made a year of episodes, and we've had some cool guests, and we've done some cool stuff, and we have some really big projects that are working kind of right now on the back burner that you guys don't get to see all the time. That all comes out of ambition. You know, we've seen like no return on like our financial investment or like our time investment or whatever, but we have this like goal, this like dream that pushes us to come back every week talking to a microphone. And that applies to every single thing. You know, like if you want to get serious in the gym, you have to be ambitious. You have to have a goal that you're trying to push towards. If you want to be this awesome like Nobel Prize winning scientist, you have to have a goal and you have to push towards that goal. And so without ambition, nothing ever gets done. And that is my probably biggest takeaway from doing the podcast over the past year.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I think that is definitely one of the most important things. There's no doubt that without the ambition and like without the dream, like there's no way we would have made it past like 20 weeks of the show.
Mm-mm.
You know?
Yeah.
Just because like at that point in time, like it was still like a new thing, and you know, and it was just like no matter how like tough things were, it was like we were gonna like truck through it like right then, you know. And then like 25 weeks, and then it's kind of just like we were at like our driest point, you know. And like we were, I remember
like, that
pretty much creating like the most bland episodes because like our ideas, like our good ideas, like we'd already used, and like the views were low and like all this stuff. And it's like if we would have hit that point in like our career and then like
given up,
just been like, well, like okay, well, like the dream is gone, you know, then like we wouldn't have made like last week's episode,
right? Which is like the best episode we've ever made, easily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like we wouldn't be able to sit here today and talk about like how much it can grow you as a person to like do something for a year.
Yeah.
You know, like even if it's not a podcast, just like do anything for a year, because like doing something for a year is a hard thing to do.
Yeah. It's adverse. I will tell you, I think that exactly when, if the ambition wasn't there and we would have given it up, is whenever we did that day that we recorded 3 podcasts in a row.
Yeah.
We would have been like, psh, and we would have just like done a turn and we would have left, and that would have been it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like getting through that was like the worst. I think that's like the toughest thing that we had to go through, I think, probably.
Yeah. That was a long day.
3 podcasts in a day. Had to edit 3 podcasts that week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get them all ready. It's a tough time. It's a fun time though.
It was.
You know? But like you said, I mean, everything, it's powered by ambition. You have to be willing and ready, because like you gotta love the suck. You don't love the suck if you're not ambitious. There's just so many. We could do a whole podcast on that. But I think that's probably literally my biggest takeaway from, you know, without a dream, without a goal, you can't score. So there you go.
Boom.
Is that all you have for your notes?
Yeah.
Yeah. What a show, huh?
Yeah. I mean, dude, I don't think it could have went any better than
neither
that.
do I.
But I mean, like for real, if you're listening, like if you made it this far into the episode, thank you for like the most incredible year. But also, like, I hope that you can learn something from like what we've been through like this last year, and like just like putting in the work and like being dedicated, you know, can lead to like some really great and cool things.
100%.
And like no matter like where you are like in the world, because I mean, like whenever it comes to like content creating, we live in probably the worst place for it
in the pantheon,
you know.
Yeah.
And so but like we don't let that kind of thing like stop us from like what we're doing, you know. And like kind of like what you were saying earlier, like we are trying to take like a kind of like small town route towards like this whole thing. And I think like being able to adapt to that and being like, well, listen, like maybe this isn't going to be like the most popular podcast in the world, but like maybe this is the most popular podcast in like
North Carolina,
you know?
Yeah.
And so I think like thinking about it like that and bringing on that mindset will kind of just like take things like kind of where they need to be. But like we wouldn't be able to do this thing without you guys, like, and support, like, keep it coming, because the validation is just like is really important for like any content creator, I would say.
For sure.
And so thank you again for like all listening every week and all the nice notes and reviews and all that stuff, because it really means a ton.
Yeah.
To me anyway. Because I mean, there's like you said this all the time, like it would be naive to say that like I was just doing this for myself.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't doing this for like anybody else. But like, and like at the beginning, I think that kind of was it. Like I kind of was like doing this for myself just to see like if I could really do it. But like after doing it for this long, I think like it is completely just like for the viewer now.
100%.
Because like I do this research, like sure, because like it's good for me to like research these like podcast topics.
But you're not thinking that.
But at the end of the day, I'm researching these things so I can tell them to somebody else and like maybe help them out, you know. And like that's the end goal
for sure
for like a self-improvement podcast. Like what we have is like we want to help you guys be better, and so like hopefully we do that. I think we do like a pretty good job.
Yeah, I think so too. I think if we did a bad job, people would have let us know by now.
Yeah, and that's the thing. People like let us know that we do all right.
Yeah.
And so just thank you guys, and we look forward to another year.
100%, another decade of this podcast.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yep.
Yeah, I think that you crushed that. Thanks for listening. It means a ton, obviously, to both of us. Keep the messages coming. We're kind of like, I don't know, we just had like the best 2 weeks of the podcast ever from a analytics perspective. So if the audience is growing, welcome everybody that's new.
Yeah, for sure.
All the way to the end of this episode, we said that. So if you're all the way through on the kind of 1 year retrospective or whatever, shout out to you and stick around. But also too, I think I said this in like one of the earlier episodes, but it's still true now. We're still like a small podcast. We still answer every DM, read every review. So if you want to like play a serious role in like what we talk about one week, or if you have ideas or whatever, like shoot them our way. Not that we like are fishing for ideas or anything like that, because we come up with ideas every week. But like, if you guys have stuff that you want us to talk about, like shoot it our way. Answer, like throw it in the DMs, or like answer the question that Spotify always leaves at the bottom, or whatever. Leave it in your review. Just talk to us, because we're just guys. We're not like untouchable figures. We're just dudes who talk into microphones, pretty much.
Indeed.
And
also, first podcast without a hat.
Facts. Caleb's
So
dome is out.
say congratulations for the flow.
Yeah.
I had to dry my hair this morning.
Yeah.
I cannot even tell you the last time I dried my hair.
Really?
Yeah, I usually just hop out of the shower and throw a hat on, which has got to be bad for the hair.
Who cares? I don't believe in that garbage.
Yeah,
I wear these headphones every single day. I still have hair, so I think that's a bunch of mumbo jumbo.
But yeah, so hopefully you don't enjoy seeing my hair too much, because this is honestly probably one of the last times.
Yeah. How does the headphones feel on your head? Feel weird?
Yeah, they feel like they're gonna fall off.
Yeah.
I used the little button up here to
Yeah.
like stop them from going
Sliding.
too far back,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
they're it
Yeah.
feels like they're about to fall off.
Yeah. Totally get that. Totally get that one. Yeah, it's been good stuff. Last thing I want to say, thanks for doing the podcast with me for a year, dude.
Oh yeah, dude,
It's been the coolest.
it has.
It was kind of on a whim. We pivoted our whole lives to shooting a podcast every week.
Yeah,
Which I don't know if we realized that at the time.
I didn't.
But here we are. So, thanks for doing it. Appreciate it a ton.
Yeah, dude. Thank you too.
Yeah.
Definitely wouldn't be able to do this by myself.
No, this would suck to do it by yourself.
Yeah, and so yeah, I appreciate it a ton. I can't wait to see like where it goes, dude.
It's going straight up.
Yeah, I know. I know.
That's the goal.
Yeah,
That's the goal. Trucker hat's coming soon, by the way.
yeah.
I
don't know why I looked at your camera.
I think by now we'd get used to it, but it's weird.
Yeah.
The layout of the cameras is weird compared to what it usually is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Anyways, thank you guys so much for listening to episode 53 of Caddy Corner. This is season 2, episode 1. I will make sure to mark it that way in the podcast platforms, because it'll look cool. Thank you guys so much for listening. Make sure to rate, review, like, subscribe, ring the bell. Follow us on all of our socials. Links are in the description. And if you missed last week's episode, what are you doing? Go listen to it right now. It's the best episode we've ever made.
That's for sure.
And here's to another year of Caddy Corner. I'm Austin. He's Caleb. See you next week. Peace.
Peace.